Today's video is going to have a slightly different tone than usual. So, if that's not your cup of tea, you might want to try coffee. Hello! So, for this video, it's gonna, just like I said at the first 10 seconds of the video, it's gonna have a slightly different kind of tone to it, as, well, simply, we got some stream snipers. And, well, they were so disorganized, and needless to say, as I would actually say in every single title of most of my videos, goofy they were. And it was the blanket statement of wanting the reward without the risk. I am also going to be getting on to the Denon vid after this one, but hey, this one was a lot quicker to make, and yeah, it was just funny. I've done my best to cut their names out so that the only people who know who were the stream snipers were the people who were present and, well, them themselves. Just in case they end up watching and feeling anything is sent their way. So, with all that out of the way, I hope you all enjoy. So for this one, I was watching Morcrom, as I do frequently, as he plays Path of Titans, as I really just enjoy watching him. And he had just finished a fight on pretty much the path from GP to Desolate. But there was also some people on the server that I, and he, and everyone ended up recognizing that have stream sniped him in the past. And so, me in particular, I decided I wanted to hop on. And funny enough, as I pretty much get on and I'm trying to make my way to him, I end up, well, just spotting them right off the bat, as I knew exactly what the skins looked like, since, hey, I was watching the stream. And the setup, as you would expect of pretty much most of the player base, well, it's just a bunch of apexes with something to chase to maybe slow down the thing they're chasing after, right? In particular for this group, it seems to be a bunch of Tyranno Titans with a Pycno, in order just to force Morcrom to maybe turn around to stop a charging Pycno or any kind of nuisance. Either way, a bunch of heavy hitters with a chaser. Hell, they even come across the body of their deceased friend, which they quickly grab a little bite, before sending out the Pycno to catch Morcrom. I end up telling Morcrom in his stream that, hey, they are all coming for you. They're sending out a Pycno first, but they have a bunch of Tyranno Titans. And I mean, in the case of apexes, yeah, sure, Tyranno Titans would be the best thing to choose in terms of actually chasing down another apex. But I guess that's as far as the thinking goes for people who are already stream sniping. Why would they need to think any more than that? Wait, am I showing how much I dislike stream snipers? Sorry about that. It kind of just showcases the intent of some players who are not really having that much fun with the game anymore, unless they're actively trying to make it as unfun as possible for another player. Which, that's how I see this. You may see it in a different way, but as I said, that's how I see it. So there are a few moving parts to this. I'm, as usual, playing on the godly Ramphorhynchus you all come to know as Dennis. Frozen is playing a Latin of Venatrix. Morcrom is playing a Tyranno Titan, which is obviously the target of this group right here, and Saka ends up playing on a few things. But we do have an additional Ramphorhynchus. I don't really know who they are, but I think they may have been in the stream watching, and they decided to help out. So while they've sent the Pycno ahead to interfere with Morcrom to slow him down a little to allow this group to catch up, me, Frozen, and the other Ramphorhynchus are just trying to slow down this group here. Frozen is taking their attention by adding bleed and just being a general nuisance. It doesn't do much to stop their movement, but any slowdown that we can provide is a benefit to Morcrom. So Morcrom has made it into the woods bordering between Grand Plains and Younggrove, and here's the first where we end up seeing Saka, trying out the Suko. Then, of course, we have the Pycno, which is keeping their eyes on Morcrom, making sure, he isn't let out of their sight, along with then two Tyranno Titans following into the wooded area, and two Tyranno Titans actually trying to cut Morcrom off, as they may think that he is going to walk towards the home cave. Frozen has been doing God's work in terms of keeping one of them bleeding constantly the entire time as they've been chasing. And as they start to get close, that is when the Pycno decides to actually start, which pretty much almost ends up killing their own Pycno right off the bat. I was kind of flying off in a random direction because I was trying to tell Morcrom in the stream chat that, hey, 2 of the Tyrannotitans are heading towards the cave or trying to cut you off. And so by the time I ended up, actually finding the group again, everyone seemed to be fighting underneath the waterfall, where Saka and Morcrom were sitting at the water's edge, and me and the other ramp were just keeping this one Tyrannotitan bleeding heavily with Scab Picker. It seems to be a little bit of a stalling situation right here, where they're not really actively trying to push, but more just trying to wait for the other Tyrannotitans to show up. Though before they do end up arriving, there is a small skirmish that starts right here, and the main goal really for us right now is kind of just adding a bunch of bleed to these Tyrannotitans, just ready for the ramps just to keep them bleeding for as long as possible, so that when the other Tyrannotitans do arrive, not all of them really have the time to actually chase the entire time, as some of them will be a little concerned about the heavy amount of bleed that they're suffering from. Saka does almost end up kicking the bucket right here, as they ended up getting pretty much sandwiched between 2 of the Tyrannotitans, but thankfully they managed to get to the water on time. And this Tyrannotitan right here, well, I am refusing to let them sit and heal off this bleed. I am going to stall them and keep them here for as long as possible. Every time they sit, I will pounce them. They will get back up. Though when Morcrom ended up hearing the footsteps of the 2 Tyrannotitans that had tried to cut him off at the cave, as that's where they thought he would go, he ended up hopping in the river to cross. Though, guess what? The Pycno ended up already crossing the river, because they knew that he was going to cross anyway. And in their effort to deal any damage and add as much pressure as possible, they ended up taking a heavy bite and being put to death scars, in which, luckily, Frozen was there anyway to chase, and, well, finish off the Pycno promptly. Nicely done, Frozen. You are a legend. But while all that was happening, I'm still pretty much just trying to keep this one Tyrannotitan right here. Just trying to keep them bleeding and stop them from sitting down as much as I can. But here is the point where 2 random Sukos are just trying to pass, and I think these Tyrannotitans might have thought that they were with Morcrom, since, hey, Saka was on Suko and helping out Morcrom, so it's fair to assume that maybe these are also with Morcrom. But in doing so, that has earned them a little bit of ire from the Sukos, and make it a little bit more dangerous for them to cross the river later, wouldn't it? Though, right here, I should mention, this other ramp has been doing God's work in actually keeping Scab Picker, just up on whatever is bleeding. They have been doing so well, and adding so much pressure in doing so, and stopping them from healing while doing it. Also, they, spending that time also plaguing these Tyrannotitans, which is, again, more pressure for them to actually try and catch Morcrom as fast as they can. So, 2 of the Tyrannotitans ended up crossing the river before the Sukos ended up coming and causing problems for them. And meanwhile, the 2 Tyrannotitans that I was bothering with started to head south further into Young Grove, maybe hoping to cut off Morcrom there, as Morcrom was leading their group by the nose around the shore, pretty much going between Darkwoods and Young Grove. And right here, the Sukos seem to have been giving the Tyrannotitan group a little bit of an issue, just adding a little more bleed, along with the ramp then keeping it stacked still. But nevertheless, they continue to follow, even despite not being able to see him. Because hey, they got his stream open, so of course they're able to see him. And so I decide, you know what, Morcrom, I think you are in need of some blood-soaked stacks. So I decide to tell him to bite me a couple of times, activating my lucky feather, and then, he can get a little bit faster stam regen. We did end up learning right here that you do need to actually be dealing damage in order to stack up your blood-soaked for the extra stam regen, which you can't on a ramp since lucky feather. But hey, it was an experiment nonetheless, and at least we know that that can't be exploited. Oh, but wait, a Hat's has shown up. Well, you remember the Picno that ended up dying to Frozen? Well, they came back on a Hats, proving my theory yet again, that Hats is a revenge pick 90% of the time, every time. And its only job right now seems to be just keeping Morcrom in combat while he's slowly being followed by the group. In which they do just continue following. All while Frozen is still just doing these little pokes of bleed, keeping at least one of them from healing the entire time. But wait, you might be wondering, where the hell is Sokka? We haven't seen them since they almost died to the Tyranno Titans on Zuko and hopped into the river. Well, they're waiting in ambush. Morcrom ended up letting them get close enough in order to make them want to sprint after him, in which then Sokka was ready to jump out and join into the fight. The main goal is not really to deal, just maximum damage, although that is nice, surely. It's mainly just to get a bunch of blood-soaked stacks for that stamina regen, and adding a bunch of bleed. Which, hey, that's what Tyranno Titan is all about, and then the Rampharinkas, so me and the other Ramph can also extend the bleed on whoever, is bleeding. The combination of Scab Picker from Rampharinkas and the Blood-Chilling Roar from Tyranno Titan is, it's a scary combination. But here is the point where Morcrom ended up finally just saying, you know what, let's black out my screen. Then maybe they'll struggle to actually chase me. And I gotta say, he picked the perfect place to actually do that. Pretty much right next to the cave, because guess what? All 4 Tyranno Titans, as soon as he blacked out his screen, decided, oh, he's blacked it out so that we can't see that he's trying to sneak towards the cave, and that's where they all went at the same time. I would call these stream snipers jellyfish, but that would be an insult to the jellyfish, as jellyfish do not have brains. So that little move, just to make them think that he was trying to sneak off towards the cave, granted him so much distance, and Sokka a lot of distance to get away from their group. And now their only way to actually track down Morcrom and keep an eye on him, the Hats. In which I can, pretty easily just hamper a Hats in terms of getting stamina back just by pouncing them and stopping them from resting constantly. There are ways to get around, a Ramph just pouncing you and stopping you from resting, but there's also ways for the Ramph to get around that little trick to stop them from doing that. Anyway, this Hats doesn't feel comfortable in actually trying to deal any damage, and the only real course of action right now is just to start screaming, just to try and get the attention of their group, trying to call them over, hey, guys, Morcrom is here. The guy we can't see on his stream is over here. But as you will have noticed, as the Hats is following, the Tyranno Titans are catching up, Morcrom and Sokka are making their way into White Cliffs, the fog is rolling in. Well, the Tyranno Titans have been spending all this time being annoyed to hell by Ramphs, and it's time to wonder, how long has it been since they've eaten or drank anything? Well, for the past 15 minutes they have been getting annoyed, harassed, and plagued by Ramphs. Maybe not, the entire time, because you can't stay on something that's bucking 100% of the time, but they have been getting plagued and are certainly running low, as they all turn their eyes towards Crater, because I think they know that they would end up starving to death before they end up catching Morcrom and Sokka with a bunch of Ramphs also plaguing them. And let's just say they spotted the perfect meal, a lone Bars that was entering Crater, and needless to say, they immediately thought, yeah, this is our ticket to stave off these Ramphs right now, and then we can carry on our chase. So the Bars defended themselves for a little while, and luckily for them, there were others in this crater. There was an Io and an Amaga, and, I did the unthinkable and actually helped out, what a lot of people would call a crater group. I immediately flew up to the EO, I did a little friendly call, I hopped on, buffed them, and let them go to town. And let me just say, this was an absolute spectacle. I loved watching every moment of this. I was so happy. Just because, hey, they've been stream sniping Morcrom, they've been chasing him this entire time, and blah blah blah. Yeah, you get it. I've already said about 3 or 4 times. But either way, the whole thing right now is just trying to keep these Tyranno Titans. This is what the group is doing here. They are just trying to keep these Tyranno Titans from actually leaving Crater. And the Amag, it's just the perfect thing to do it. Every time that they try to go up the ramp, they just get hit back down by whatever's here. But funnily enough, that's not all that showed up. There was actually, I think maybe 2 or 3 groups that actually showed up and just started attacking each other, these guys. It just turned into an entire war, and it was amazing. There was an Aloe that showed up here that also had some Dasps. There was also another random Tyranno Titan, which also ended up attacking their Tyranno Titan and their hats. But anyway, besides the point. So, let me just blast through this. So, they finally make a little bit of distance out of the crater, and they're immediately chased by the Aloe. Then, out of nowhere, the EO finally just rushes up and starts absolutely just going ultra aggressive. I don't blame them. But once the EO is pretty much out of stamina, this Aloe and another Dasp end up just chasing this Tyranno Titan, taking their turns, making sure not to hit each other, keeping this Tyranno Titan stacked with bleed, until it is finally dead. So the other Ramph that was helping us out was pretty much buffing up this Tyranno Titan that was also then attacking the stream sniping group. And a little bit of a problem happened for this Tyranno Titan right here, as they ended up getting confused for being with, well, all of the Tyranno Titans and attacked by the Aloes and Dasps, and pretty much, well, everything in Crater, right? And as everything chased off the random Tyranno Titan, this Tyranno Titan right here, I'm saying Tyranno Titan a lot, god damn it! Anyway, they ended up pretty much just hiding on the cliff, and they were able to just log out with pretty much just a sliver of health. So I pretty much just let Morcrom know that the Tyranno Titans that had been following him were plagued for long enough without eating that they decided to switch target and go for a bars, and then ended up getting attacked by pretty much whatever was near Crater. And I kept my attention on this one particular Tyranno Titan, mainly just because it was bleeding, and I was also just trying to keep it stacked up on Scab Picker, just to, well, get whatever I could out of the bleed. They took a couple of hits over by the rock before moving over to the cliff wall, where it was a lot harder for these patchies to actually get free hits and get out safely. And all I can say is, if these patchies had taken their time and not been so impatient, they could have just let me, just plague this Tyranno Titan and made sure that it wasn't able to log out. They had the liberty of maybe taking it in turns, going up to Wilderness Peak, getting a drink of water if they're being affected by plague, and taking it in turns, going to a berry bush to heal, or, fill up their hunger, while I plague out this one Tyranno Titan. But hey, it's patchy. It's not really the playable you think of when it comes to patience. And so, in their, haste to end the fight as quickly as possible, they ended up losing one of their own, which ended up feeding this Tyranno Titan, and I'm sure this Tyranno Titan must have been quite down below on their hunger, as instead of... They immediately went to go and eat this body. Immediately. But yeah, as you saw, another Apache ended up jumping in right afterwards and also losing their life, because, well, yeah, it just took a bite. And that's what a little bit of impatience can lead to. I can understand it, but it doesn't change the result. Nevertheless, I have Morcrom in my group now, and I'm pretty much, told him to make me the leader, and he is on his way. And, well, there's not much left here to say. This Tyranno Titan was left at about 5% HP after the patches now. And so, it was just finished off by Saka and Morcrom. Well, more like Saka. I wish Morcrom could have got that last hit. After being stream sniped, he deserved it. He deserved the satisfaction. But wait, I think I'm forgetting something. Oh yeah, we haven't found out what happened to the 4th Tyranno Titan. Well, let me just say, this was hilarious to me. Let's just say, right at the start, they ended up just taking a bit of damage, and they were left at about maybe 10% health. And do you know what they did after that? They just abandoned their friends. Wow. What teamwork. What absolute amazing teamwork right there. Literally just abandon your friends. Jesus Christ. Oh. I mean, I can understand you don't want to die. So maybe you try and make a little bit of distance, but you try to be there for some presence. But literally just leaving and abandoning your friends for dead. Come on. Sounds about right for stream snipers. So here's a little bonus clip afterwards. Toxic was apparently on the server, and in the middle of all of that, they ended up sending me a little whisper saying that, hey, can I please waystone them? But hey, I was busy helping Morcrom out, so I didn't even see it. And apparently their Suko ended up getting stuck under the map. So, you know, I for some reason, I've just got this thought in my mind that there is just, for 20 minutes, a random Suko just stuck in the void that is, you know, usually the underside of the Gondwar map, whenever they try to leave a cave or anything like that, just starving to death. So, I gave them a quick waystone, and, well, in true fashion, they just, you know, all hail Dennis, as always. And so here we are at the end. So, what else can I really say here? I've kind of already said what I think about stream snipers. I really disliked stream snipers. What else can I say? Yeah, it was just the case that I made this video. One, I just dislike stream snipers. I really dislike stream snipers. It's just a way for someone who's bored with the game to try and make the game not as boring anymore. And how they do that is by doing something that they know is gonna try, you know, it's so common for the kind of thing to try to get a rise out of someone. And that gives them entertainment. But as I said at the beginning of the video, I kind of see it as, you know, you're wanting the reward, but without the risk, if that makes sense, you know. Either way, that's enough of me being a knob towards them. They know who they are. I know who they are. Morcrom and whoever's in stream know who they are. And that's all who need to know who they are. Obviously, I've blocked the names at the top there, so no one else can see who, you know, they are. But, hey, I hope you all enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think about stream snipers. And I hope you all have a lovely day. Bye.